All right, so our second layer of resin has cured, and we're ready to mask for our third layer. So let's put the tape on first. Actually, pick that up a little bit because I'm going to make this bigger. I just decided that I think it's a little bit too small. So we can still do that. A little bit from there to do that corner. All right, let's get the masking fluid on here first. The nozzle's a little bit clogged. All right. Okay, that's a little bit better. I'm going to put a little bit of a line right here because when I'm doing this top, I don't want any more of that. I don't mind that there's a little bit down there, but I don't want any more. So I'm going to try to block that out. All right. A little bit thicker line right there. I'm going to let that dry for a little bit. Then we're going to put some liquid latex on. And then we will do our next layer of alcohol inks. We'll see you in a bit. All right, so the masking fluid is dry enough. So I'm going to put my masking tape up to it on the bottom there. And then we'll add some of the liquid latex. And this stuff just peels, like when it's completely dry and your alcohol ink is dry, it just peels right off. It's super easy to get off. One of those things that I know, but I'm not sure if I remember to share that. So just poured a blob on there using my brush to move it around and overlapping the liquid masking fluid. Add a little bit more. I want to overlap it with that masking tape too. I don't want the alcohol ink to seep below that. Make sure we go all the way to the edges. I've got some that's pooled on my table now. This liquid latex is awesome to use, but it is kind of awkward to pour out of the jar, so that's why I keep pouring on this bigger area rather than trying to get it in the smaller areas and try to be precise, because precision is not happening from that bottle. Almost there. Once again, if you happen to have any big bubbles in there, make sure you pop them before your liquid latex or your masking fluid starts to dry. There we go. I think we've got everything covered. All right, we will wait for that to dry and I will see you once it is dry for our next video, and we'll add our next layer of alcohol inks. We'll see you then. Psych, I'm back. So while this was drying, I kept thinking about the tentacles and how I really liked the thinner ones from the beginning, from the very first layer, and trying to figure out how to do it and keep them thin. And then the absolute obvious answer came to me. So I am going to just add a few. And I don't necessarily want a lot of them. I think I'm going to add 3, but I'm going to use my masking fluid so that I can, and I just realized that one is very similar to the first one, so don't try to make them look a little bit different because they're a little bit more natural that way. Oops. And if it's irregular, that's totally fine. I'm actually going to purposely make them irregular because that first layer, I really liked how some of those ones blew out like that. Whoops. All right. So to emulate some of that action, and it's not going to be perfect, but I'm going to get it somewhat close. I'm just going to use my silicone tool here, and I'm just going to push some of the edges of that masking. Some of it's going to go in, and I try to clean off my tool every time I do this so that I'm not retransferring. I just messed that one up there. I'm going to leave it for a second and then go fix it here. It's obviously not going to look exactly the same as that first layer. I'm just trying to get something a little bit similar and a little bit irregular. And some of these that have gone in the center, I think I'm going to wait until the masking fluid has dried and just pull them back a little bit because it seems to want to just go in. All right, let's do just a couple in here. And the masking fluid dries super quick on your hands. So it's almost like, remember in elementary school, you put glue on your hand and you just rolled it? It's almost like that. I may just be dating myself by saying that though. Let's add just a couple up here. All right, I'm going to leave it as is, and I'm going to let that dry. I'm thinking this is a little bit on the thick side here. So I'm just going to narrow it down just a touch. There we go. All right, I'm going to leave that to dry, and I'll be back when we're ready to pour some alcohol ink for the last layer.